Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about something that I see a lot thrown out there, in the fitness community, the lifting world, sports world, everything else, and that is this idea that people who follow relatively extreme diets, this idea that because someone got results while doing the diet, that it doesn't create a disadvantage. And I'm not going to make this video about anyone's personal choices, their moral choices, anything else. That's not what this video is going to be about. It's that it's just simply it's dishonest and disingenuous for people to promote that. Number two is that if people do choose for whatever reason to do these approaches, they do need to understand that it's not just everything hunky-dory and it's just going to be easy. And that it's an acceptable approach for, again, body composition, athletic performance, things like that. And I mean, the sort of diets I'm talking about could be vegan diets, they could be carnivore diets, they could be keto diets, whatever these different approaches people take are. And all of those are considered extreme. And so a lot of people will say, well, I don't think it's extreme, I think this is extreme. It's like, no, those are extreme diets by any metric. And if people can't admit that, then we have a problem. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying you're wrong or bad for doing it. I'm just pointing out that it's extreme. Right? And if you can't admit that, then you got a bigger problem. So, people choose to do these diets for a variety of reasons. Perceived health benefits, perceived moral benefits. I get it. People have their reasons. Okay. But when people start advertising, look, it can be done. And the worst is when it's I hate it when they show them as bodybuilders, because there'll be guys who really, if you're going to use being a bodybuilder as the metric, they're not remotely close to impressive for a bodybuilder, by the metrics of that particular thing they're doing. In my case, I'm not really a bodybuilder. It's not my thing. I'm a strength athlete. I like being jacked. I like being fit. I'm not a bodybuilder. But the thing is, they'll do that, and it'll be someone who's not really doing that good at it. And then on top of that, and if they're adding quite a bit of chemical enhancement to it, that creates a whole different element, doesn't it? It's improving feed efficiency. It's improving all sorts of things. Nutrient partitioning. So yeah, that becomes a different ballgame, but that can still limit what people get in terms of results. And I mean examples, meaning let's say, I'll kind of break some of them down. Vegan diets, the lack of high bioavailable protein, getting sufficient protein to really maximize body composition is actually extremely difficult on a vegan diet. Notice I did not say impossible. I said extremely difficult. And for someone to achieve that actually is going to require them to have a pretty high degree of obsession about it, right? They're going to have to be relatively obsessed with that protein intake in order to pull it off. So it's not just, it'll be fine. It's not something you should worry about. Right? It's going to be a problem. And I would say the same thing, the vegans who are doing that, who are then using stuff, it's like you might be able to use less stuff and still get the same muscle protein synthesis if you weren't going that route. Again, not saying it's impossible, it's more difficult, and you have to be honest about that. The same thing with omega-3, B12, things like that. They're going to have to supplement those things, and if they're not, it is going to interfere. Again, not saying it can't be done, I'm saying they have to be mindful of it. There's a lot more work involved than just trying to eat good at that point. Same thing, we come over to carnivore diets. Well, in that case, you're going to have nutritional deficiencies any way you break it down. Okay? That's one of the most extreme diets you can do. Now, the one problem they don't have is the protein synthesis, obviously. They're probably eating way more protein than they even need for maximizing body composition. It's the lack of carbohydrate, the lack of phytonutrients, oftentimes antioxidant issues, and in the long term going to create problems. We're not even going to jump into the gut flora side, because that's a long-term problem that develops. All right, same thing, ketogenic diets. So let's come over to that specifically. The lack of carbohydrate in the diet. Now, assuming they're adding vegetables and stuff, that's not necessarily a problem. But problems with over time, insulin resistance, total IGF-1, definitely training workloads, training volumes, output for conditioning work, so athletic performance, absolutely compromised. Muscle growth is absolutely compromised on those diets. Okay? So here is the issue that we have with that. These are all areas that are completely compromised and significantly. So it's a problem when people then just show, hey, well, this person is living this specific lifestyle, any of those three, right? Any of those three, and they're still getting results. It's like, how much harder are they having to work to get the same results? You need to be honest about that, right? Number two, would they be getting even better results if they were doing something a little more balanced? Okay? And I think in almost every single case, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. And if it's not presented in that way, then it's very misleading. Because then it kind of leads people into that, and they're like, well, if he can do it, then I can do it. And they don't understand that training and really oftentimes reaching our fitness goals is very difficult. It's not something that's always as straightforward and easy. It's something that people struggle with, even who are trying to do everything perfect. Okay? And we need to be clear on that. Your goals may be even completely unrealistic, depending upon what they are and what you're willing to do to get to them. When you add one of these other dynamics to it, you are creating additional difficulty in achieving the goal. And you have to be aware of that. And the people who are promoting these lifestyles, if they want to be completely honest with people, they need to make that clear up front. And if they do that, then okay. I mean, same thing with the vegan thing. If vegans are honest about that, completely honest about it, then, no need to give them a hard time about it, right? They're being straightforward. They're being honest with the difficulties involved. Everyone knows what they're getting into, and then more power to them, okay? But people do need to be aware of these things. And as far as like the carnivore diet, that is actually probably one of the most difficult for people to really make long-term progress. Be aware of that.